Okay, I have a very specific, very serious question for you today. Alex? And I need you to be completely, brutally honest.
Oh no. That is the exact same way you started the last few episodes. I am already sweating. What is it this time?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much pure, unadulterated panic do you feel when you have to sign a legal document in English?
Oh, wow. Straight to the heart of my trauma. I would say an 11. Maybe a 12 if it is a lease agreement for an apartment.
A 12? That is off the charts. You are a grown man. You manage projects at work. You can negotiate contracts. But a piece of paper with the word lease on it makes you want to run away and live in the woods?
It is not just the paper, Sophia. It is the permanence. And the vocabulary. When I buy a coffee, if I make a mistake, I lose $3. If I sign a lease and make a mistake, I am legally bound to pay for a place I might hate for 12 months.
That is a completely valid fear. Signing a lease is stressful even in your native language. There are so many terms, so many conditions. And it always feels like there is a trap waiting for you.
Exactly, and in English, it is like reading a different dialect. Security deposit, utilities included, joint and several liability, prorated rent. I read these words, and my brain just goes into emergency mode.
Joint and several liability. Yeah, that one sounds like a medieval punishment.
It sounds like I'm going to be chained to my roommate in a dungeon. I do not know what it means, but it sounds expensive and painful.
Laughs. It basically just means that if your roommate doesn't pay their half of the rent, the landlord can come after you for the whole amount.
See, that is exactly what I'm talking about. I need a translator just to understand that I might lose all my money because my roommate bought too many video games.
That is a very real risk. But let's back up a little bit. You mentioned apartment hunting. That is a legendary source of stress for everyone, but especially for language learners. Tell me about your first time trying to rent an apartment in an English speaking environment.
Oh, I have a terrible, terrible story about this. It was my first year living abroad. I needed to find a place quickly because my temporary housing was ending. I was looking at these online listings, and everything sounded amazing.
The online listings are always a fantasy world. The photos are taken with a wide-angle lens to make a closet look like a ballroom.
Yes, and the descriptions are pure poetry. Cozy, sun, drenched studio in a vibrant neighborhood. I went to view one of these cozy studios. The landlord met me there. He was a very enthusiastic guy, talking a mile a minute.
Oh no! The fast-talking landlord.
He walked me in, and the first thing I noticed was that it smelled like old cabbage and damp carpet. But I was trying to be polite, so I just nodded. Then he started giving me the tour. He pointed to a tiny, windowless space in the corner and said, "And here you have a lovely bath."
Wait. A half bath?
Yes, and in my head, I translated this literally. I thought, a bath? What does that mean? Is it a bathroom that is only half finished? Like, just a toilet sitting in the middle of the kitchen.
Laughing uncontrollably. Oh my gosh. Alex? No.
I was so confused. I looked at him, and I said, very seriously, "Excuse me, where is the other half of the bathroom? Do I have to go to the hallway to finish washing my hands?"
I cannot breathe. What did the landlord's face do?
He just stared at me. He blinked twice, and then he said, very slowly, "Sir, a half bath just means it has a toilet and a sink. No shower."
Wiping away tears. Oh, Alex. That is incredible.
I wanted to dissolve into the damp carpet. I just said, "Oh, right? That makes sense. Thank you." But it got worse. He kept using these real estate phrases. He said the apartment had great bones.
Ah, great bones. The classic real estate euphemism.
I did not know what that meant either. I looked at the walls, and they were peeling. I thought, if these are great bones, I do not want to see the skeleton. I thought he meant the building was old and fragile.
In real estate, great bones means the fundamental structure of the building is solid. Even if the cosmetic stuff, like the paint or the flooring, needs work. But honestly, it's usually code for the walls are standing, but everything else is falling apart.
That is exactly what it was. And then he said the rent was negotiable depending on the length of the lease. And I panicked. I thought he meant I had to negotiate with him right there, on the spot, like we were at a flea market.
Did you try to negotiate?
I tried. I looked at him and said, "I will give you 5% less?" And he just laughed and said, "How about we stick to the listed price for now?" I felt so small.
Okay. First of all, that is a hilarious story. Second of all, I promise you, landlords have heard much, much worse. I once heard about a tenant who thought pet friendly meant the apartment came with a free dog.
Here is your apartment. And here is Gary, the golden retriever.
Exactly. The point is, Alex, you were in a high pressure situation, navigating a weird environment, and your brain did its best to make sense of unfamiliar idioms. Half bath and great bones are not intuitive if you have never heard them before.
Logically, I know that. But in the moment, you feel so foolish. You are an adult, but you feel like a child who does not understand the rules of the game.
I hear you. It's that gap between your actual intelligence and your ability to decode the cultural shorthand. But let's look at what actually happened. Did you rent that apartment?
No, absolutely not. I walked out, and I ended up finding a much better place a week later. But the experience made me realize how much I rely on memorized phrases. When I am at home, I can prepare. I can read the lease slowly, look up words, and ask a friend to check it. But in person, with a fast, talking landlord, I freeze.
That is so true. Apartment hunting throws you into the deep end. You can't script a conversation with a landlord who is trying to sell you on a damp closet.
Right. And it is not just the vocabulary. It is the cultural expectations. In my culture, if you point out a flaw in the apartment, the landlord respects you for being observant. Here, I feel like if I say, "This carpet is dirty," I am being rude or ungrateful.
That is a very common cultural difference. In American culture, we often use what I call softeners or diplomatic language when pointing out flaws, especially with people who have power over us, like landlords or bosses.
Softeners. Like what?
Instead of saying, "This carpet is dirty," you might say, "I noticed the carpet has seen better days. Is there a plan to have it professionally cleaned before move in?"
Has seen better days. That is a very gentle way to say it is disgusting.
Exactly. It acknowledges the problem without being aggressively accusatory. It invites a solution rather than starting a fight.
I like that. Has seen better days. I am going to write that down. What about the deposit? That is another thing that stresses me out.
The security deposit. It's a huge source of anxiety.
Yes. I always worry that I will accidentally destroy the apartment and lose all my money. Like, what if I spill coffee on the rug? Will they keep my entire deposit?
That is a very common fear. But here's a pro tip for you. And for our listeners, document everything.
Document everything?
Yes. The moment you get the keys, before you bring in a single box, take out your phone and take a video of the entire apartment. Zoom in on the carpets, the walls, the inside of the cabinets, the appliances. If there is already a scratch on the floor, record it.
Oh, that is smart. So I have proof that I did not do it.
Exactly. And then, email that video or those photos to the landlord or property manager on day one. Say, "Hi, just wanted to share a quick move in video for our records. I noticed a small scratch on the kitchen floor. Just wanted to make sure it was documented."
That is brilliant. It is so professional, and it protects me.
It does? It shifts the dynamic. You are no longer the nervous tenant hoping for the best. You are an organized, responsible adult protecting your investment.
I love that. Protecting my investment. That makes me feel powerful.
You should feel powerful. You are signing a major financial contract. You have the right to ask questions and protect yourself.
Okay, but what if I need to ask a question about the lease, and I do not understand a specific clause? I do not want to sound stupid.
You will never sound stupid for asking for clarification on a legal document. That is what lawyers do. A great, natural phrase to use is, "Could you walk me through this section? I just want to make sure I fully understand my responsibilities regarding."
Walk me through. I like that. It sounds collaborative, not confrontational.
It is. It implies that you are working together to understand the document, rather than you demanding that they explain it to you like a child.
Could you walk me through this section? I just want to make sure I fully understand my responsibilities regarding the pet policy.
Perfect. Flawless? You sound like a CEO reviewing a merger.
Laughs. I wish I felt like a CEO. Usually, I feel like a guy who is afraid of the half bath.
Hey, we all start somewhere. And honestly, asking questions is a sign of confidence, not weakness. It shows you're paying attention.
That is a really nice way to look at it. I think my fear comes from a desire to be the good tenant. You know, The one who never complains, always pays on time, and is completely invisible.
The ghost tenant?
Yes, the ghost tenant. But I am realizing that being invisible might not be the best strategy.
It is definitely not. A good tenant is not invisible. A good tenant is communicative, respectful, and clear. If the heater breaks, you don't suffer in silence for 3 weeks. You communicate it clearly and promptly.
Speaking of things breaking, let's talk about maintenance requests. That is another area where I struggle.
Oh, the maintenance request. A classic.
I had a situation last year. The heating in my apartment stopped working in the middle of January. It was freezing. I had to call the maintenance line.
Okay. High stakes. Freezing apartment. What did you want to say?
I wanted to say, "Hello? My heater is broken, and it is very cold. When can someone come to fix it?" Simple, right?
Very simple. Very clear.
But I was shivering, and I was frustrated, and I wanted to sound professional. So I tried to use a fancy word. I called the number, and the guy answered, "Maintenance. This is Dave." And I said, "Hello, Dave. My heating apparatus is malfunctioning, and the ambient temperature is suboptimal."
Your heating apparatus is malfunctioning.
Yes,
Alex? No.
I said it, with total seriousness. The ambient temperature is suboptimal.
I am losing my mind. What did Dave say to that?
There was a long pause. I could hear him chewing something. And then he said, very slowly, "So, your heater is broken?" And I said, "Yes, the heating apparatus."
Laughing uncontrollably. Oh my gosh. Dave must have thought you were a robot.
He probably did. He just said, "All right, I'll put in a work order for the heater. Someone will be there tomorrow." And I just said, "Thank you, Dave. I appreciate your optimal response."
Optimal response. I cannot breathe. I am actually crying.
I hung up, and I spent the next hour wrapped in 3 blankets, wondering why I cannot just speak like a normal human being.
Okay. First of all, that is a fantastic story. Second of all, Dave probably tells that story to his coworkers all the time. You won't believe the robot guy in apartment 4B.
I know, it is humiliating, but it highlights a real problem for me. When I'm stressed or uncomfortable, I try to overcompensate by using formal, textbook vocabulary. I think it will make me sound more authoritative, but it just makes me sound weird.
It is a very common reaction. When we feel insecure about our language skills, we grab the most formal, correct words we know, thinking they will act as a shield. But in everyday American English, simplicity is almost always more authoritative than complexity.
So, instead of heating apparatus, I should just say heater.
Yes. Hi, Dave. My heater stopped working, and it's getting really cold in here. Could you let me know when someone can take a look? That is clear. It is polite. And it sounds like a real person.
Take a look. That is a good phrasal verb. Much better than investigate the malfunction.
Exactly. Take a look. Check it out. Figure it out. These are the workhorses of everyday English. They are natural, they are friendly, and they get the job done.
I need to practice using these workhorses. I feel like I'm always trying to ride a fancy, complicated bicycle when I should just be walking.
That is a great metaphor. And since we are on the topic of maintenance and landlord communication, I want to try something with you. A little role play.
Oh no. Not again. My heart rate is already going up.
Come on. It will be fun. And it is good practice. I'm going to be Dave, the maintenance guy. You're going to call me because your sink is leaking, and you need it fixed before the weekend. But this time, no heating apparatus. You are going to use natural, clear, everyday English. Ready?
Okay. I can do this. No fancy words. Just a normal human.
Great! Picks up imaginary phone. Changes voice to a slightly gruff, busy tone. Maintenance? This is Dave.
Hi. Dave. This is Alex from apartment 4B. I am calling because my kitchen sink is leaking, and it is getting pretty messy.
Yeah, I can put that in the system. But we are pretty backed up right now. I probably can't get anyone out there until next Tuesday.
Oh. I see. Well, Tuesday is a bit of a problem because I have guests coming this weekend, and I really need the sink to be functional. Is there any chance someone could take a look before then?
Breaks character. Smiling. Oh! Alex, that was perfect. Functional. Take a look. A bit of a problem. It was polite. It explained the urgency without being demanding, and it sounded completely natural.
Really? It felt a little bit assertive to say, Tuesday is a bit of a problem.
It was perfectly assertive. You stated a fact. Guests are coming. You stated a need. The sink must work. And you asked a polite question. Is there any chance? You didn't yell. You didn't beg. You just communicated.
It feels good to say it out loud and hear that it works. It takes the emotion out of it.
Exactly. When you have a mental script for these common situations, you don't have to panic and invent heating apparatus on the fly. You just fall back on the reliable phrases.
That makes sense. But what about when the landlord is the problem? Like, what if they want to come into the apartment without giving me proper notice?
Ah! The boundary issue. That is a big one. In most places, landlords are legally required to give you 24 or 48 hours notice before entering, unless it is a genuine emergency, like a burst pipe.
Yes. But what if they just text you at 8 a.m. and say, hey, I'm swinging by in an hour to check the smoke detectors?
Then you hold your boundary. You can reply with something like, Hi, I actually have a meeting at home at that time, so that won't work for me. Could we reschedule for later this afternoon? Or perhaps tomorrow morning?
That won't work for me. I like that. It is firm, but it is not aggressive.
It is the perfect phrase. It is not you can't come, which sounds confrontational. It is that won't work for me, which is a statement of fact about your schedule. And then you immediately offer an alternative, which shows you are being cooperative.
That won't work for me. Could we reschedule for? Yes, I'm definitely stealing that.
Steal it. Use it. Make it yours. Now, let's talk about another apartment nightmare. Roommates.
Oh, do not get me started. I have had some very interesting roommate experiences.
Let me guess. You had a roommate who never did the dishes, or who played heavy metal music at 3 a.m.
Actually, no. My worst roommate experience was the ghost roommate.
The ghost roommate? What is that?
It was a guy I rented a place with. We signed the lease together, but after the first week, I basically never saw him. His door was always closed. He never came to the common areas, but his stuff was there, and he paid his half of the rent on time, every month, via bank transfer.
That sounds like a dream. No drama. No dirty dishes. Rent paid on time. What was the problem?
The problem was the silence. It was so quiet. I would hear a door creak at 2 a.m., and I would wonder if I was living with a ghost. And when I did see him, in the hallway, he would just give a tiny nod and disappear into his room. I didn't even know his last name for the first 3 months.
Laughs. That is actually kind of funny. But I can see how it would feel a little eerie.
It was, and it made it really hard to communicate about household things. Like the Wi-Fi password changed, and I had to leave a sticky note on his door because I couldn't find him. Dear Ghost, please update the router.
Dear ghost. I love that. But honestly, Alex, compared to the roommate who eats your food and leaves passive, aggressive notes, a quiet ghost roommate is a solid B. Plus,
I suppose so. In the end, he was a good roommate. He just had a very intense job. Or maybe he was just very shy.
or maybe he was just practicing his English and was terrified of making small talk in the kitchen.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that. Maybe he was just like me, hiding in his room to avoid the pressure of conversation.
It is entirely possible. We all have our safe spaces. And sometimes, an apartment is just a place to sleep, not a social club.
That is a very comforting thought. I think my biggest takeaway from all these apartment stories is that I do not need to be perfect. I just need to be clear, document things, and not call the heater a heating apparatus.
Clear, documented, and apparatus free. I think that should be the motto of every renter.
Please put that on a T-shirt. I will buy 10 of them.
Laughs. I am definitely designing that. But seriously, Alex, thank you for sharing these stories. I know it is not always easy to talk about the embarrassing moments, like the half bath, but that is where the real learning happens.
Thanks for having me, Sophia. And thanks for not laughing too hard at my optimal response to Dave.
I make no promises about the laughing. It was too good. All right. Everyone, that is going to do it for today's episode. If you are apartment hunting, or just navigating the daily challenges of living in a new language, remember to be kind to yourself. Ask questions. Take videos of the carpets. And never be afraid to say that won't work for me.
And if a landlord tells you an apartment has great bones, Just remember to check if the skeleton is still inside.
Exactly. We will see you all next time. Bye. Alex.
Bye. Sophia,